Hello again, I'm Natasha, and welcome to another episode of Constructive Conversations, your complete guide to building a home in Trinidad and Tobago, a program of Robust Homes Limited. I'm here at the offices of Robust Homes Limited, and today we are so excited to talk about the budgeting as it relates to building a home in Trinidad. And guys, this program, you will learn so much about budgeting as it relates to new home building. So all you newbies to construction, please stay tuned for the entire episode. So I'm here again with Mark and Dina Gonzalez, the directors of Robust Homes Limited. I just want to remind you all, our viewers, that the purpose of this program is to really guide our customers through the different phases and steps involved in building a home. Why do we do this, you ask? Because we have been receiving lots of questions from our customers on different aspects of the home building process. Some customers may have started with one phase and gotten stuck at another because they did not follow the steps that we are covering. In particular, an area that we have been receiving a lot of your questions on is the budget. So today, Mark and Dina are all set to answer your questions concerning budgeting as it relates to home building. So our first question, guys, is how and when should a project budget be created for building a new home?
A project budget should be created when you find out what you're pre-qualified for from your financial institution.
Okay, and what sort of documents do I need to work with to my financial institution? What should I carry? I want to build my home, I want to go get pre-qualified. What would the bank or lending institution ask me for?
So I'll take that question. Typically you would take into the bank, of course. Well, it depends if it will be like you, a single person going to take the mortgage, or if it is like a couple or a married couple, right? If it's a married couple, well, then the two persons may work with relevant information from their place of employment.
Okay, a job letter.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, and the bank will also give you a list. They will give you a criteria, a list of information that you would require. But what you would want to do first and foremost, very important, is to go into the bank and to basically find out, based on your current situation in terms of your your indebtedness, your credit, your income. They would work. There's a formula that they would use, and they would work out, do a calculation, and they will be able to tell you. You'd be able to borrow from the bank over 25 or 30 year period this amount of money.
Okay.
That money, if the land is not acquired as yet, that money may also have to go towards purchasing the land, and also go towards building the home.
Okay.
So for instance, if there is a $800,000 pre-qualification from the bank, let's say 200 or 300,000 of that may have to go towards purchasing the land.
Okay.
And then the remaining balance would go towards the home.
Okay. And would it, if I'm a single person, would I, and based on my income, that would determine how much I could get, or if I could get anything? How does that work? Is it different for single persons or married couples, or is it all equated the same? I don't know if you all will.
Well, we do quite a few houses for single persons, public servants from the public sector, public utilities, and some of them are females, and they are one person being employed in the home. And depending on their situation financially, they would qualify they would be within an income bracket, and they would qualify for a certain value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So you said part of the funding, if I don't have land, part of my funding will go towards purchasing the land. But what if I do have land?
Oh, well, that will make it a little better for you,
Okay.
providing the land is approved. So sometimes in some instances, the land may not be approved, but the bank only works with approved land, just in case
Okay.
there is sort of risk mitigation, so that the bank could cover themselves in case of any incident or fallout, that the bank could use the land as equity and be able to sell the land. So the land should be approved for
Okay.
residential construction, not agriculture. But if it's agricultural land, you'll have to convert it for residential use.
And then you'll have to get a series of approvals to do so.
Yes. You will have, and most times the developer will go through. So if you're going to buy like a lot out of a new development, most times the developer will organize all the approvals with the corporations, with town and country, with the works and with the drainage and those kind of and WASA and stuff like that. So most times the developer will do it, and then when you purchase it, but it tends to raise the value of the land. So the land becomes a little more expensive once all the approvals is had.
Okay, great. Dina, why is it important to choose a design build contractor or an architect with construction rate knowledge?
Yes, this could be important because someone with real experience in the cost of construction can efficiently guide you in creating your project budget because they are aware of the rates of construction materials and labor today.
Okay, so I can't just go to any and everybody and just say, okay, a guy does do drawings. I can't just go to him and say, well, or I haven't even gone to the bank as yet, but
Yeah.
I go into somebody and say, hey,
Yeah.
design
Well,
my home for me.
Yeah. Well, this is
How
the
does that
beginning-
work?
This is the beginning of a lot of possible issues
Okay.
for an impending homeowner when you do that.
Such as, tell us about some of the issues that have been encountered by customers when they just simply go to somebody without that type of experience. Give us a little bit of detail so people will know what not to do and why not to do it.
Well, what will happen a lot of the time is by the time the drawings are done in that process and they go to approval and it comes back out, the customer simply doesn't have the budget to complete the home because they were not advised of those budgetary constraints during the design process, and that could cause them to almost abandon their projects, and that is not something that any prospective homeowner wants to happen to them.
So one of the first things I always suggest, well, the first thing is what we spoke about just now, which is getting pre-qualified.
Right.
The second most important thing is after you work out how much you are capable of borrowing or what is your budget, your financial budget, then the next step should be to work with your architect
Okay.
to do the scope, the drawing scope based on the budget.
Okay.
But I would always advise to also work in tandem, in partnership with with some sort of design build contractor.
Okay.
A contractor that is well versed in and knowledgeable in this field, that can give proper rates and values of current material pricing, construction material pricing.
Okay.
Very, very important, because during that design stage you want to always be constantly checking back your drawing, your designs with your budget.
Okay, to reconcile the two.
Yes, to
Okay.
ensure it remains within the budget, because it's very easy while doing the designs, we can get caught up in
Our dream.
Our dreams.
This
Exactly.
dream.
Yeah.
This grand dream.
So,
yeah.
so we strongly advise the prospective customers or homeowners to work to work in partnership with
Yeah.
a design build with a contractor.
Yeah.
Very important.
Okay, guys, so here we have to, as prospective home builders, work with a design build contractor. Okay, Mark, a customer comes over the phone, calls over the phone rather, or sends a Facebook message and gives the dimensions of a home they want to build. What is your process of giving them an estimate? Or how do you go about doing that?
Okay, well, simply we would, based on the square feet, so sometimes some customers haven't yet done the drawings.
Okay.
So based on the square feet, or if they have a budget, I can work in reverse and give them the square feet, the footprint of the house.
Okay.
Or if they have the footprint, I can go forward and give them an idea of the cost to construct. But this is just in the preliminary, just very rough estimating without designs.
Okay.
We just give a rough estimate based on the square feet. There's a current square feet rate that would take into consideration current material costs,
Okay.
inflation, and labor.
Okay.
Right, but it varies from flat single one ground
Single
floor,
story, okay.
yeah, to 2 stories. So there's the rate varies,
Okay.
but we can do something very quickly to try to help customers remain within that square feet or that footprint of the house.
Okay. So, where my land is located, would that affect the cost for construction? Because some people build on flat land, some people will build on a land that is particularly elevated. Would that affect how much I pay for my home to be built? Would that affect the construction costs?
That's a very good question. We also always recommend as much as possible to purchase land relatively level, relatively flat.
Okay. Relatively flat. Okay.
With maybe a 5%
Elevation.
gradient,
Okay.
grade,
Okay.
but not too steep,
Okay.
because it tends to send up the construction cost, especially in the foundation.
Okay.
It tends to send up the foundation cost. Given the fact we know, most cases, sloping land usually is a bit less expensive
Okay.
than a relatively flat piece.
But I want my views, I want my house, my 2-story, my 3-story on a hill, so I'm going to pay more for that?
No, so in construction, yes.
In construction.
But purchasing the land, you may not pay as it tends to be a little
Okay.
discounted.
Okay.
Some of them, not all. It depends. If there's in some areas, in the west, it may not be as discounted. Right, but it depends. It depends on where it is and where, because they will take into consideration, real estate people will take into consideration those factors, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I understand the view. But if you are on a tight budget, one thing to mention is that
Yeah.
most times, the evaluator, the bank's evaluator, when I say the bank, the recommended evaluator from the bank,
Okay.
they do not take into consideration sloping land.
Oh, okay.
So when you take a design to the bank, when you take your design, your drawing to the bank, they most cases that evaluator, that quantity surveyor, quantity QS person that the bank would recommend does not consider, okay, this is a sloping piece of land, so that there's going to be more materials in this area, the foundation.
needed.
Yes. So they would normally use their rates and work it as a flat piece of land. So then when you actually get your prices back from your contractors, you would find that the prices from the contractors may look a bit more or higher
Okay.
than the prices from the bank.
Oh, so then it'd be like,
bank,
okay, so why am I the
Yes.
evaluator from the bank telling me one thing,
Yes,
and you
yes.
telling me one thing, because
Yeah.
I go to find somebody who
Yeah.
could do this house for cheaper.
Yeah.
So okay.
Because we as contractors, we may go out on the land and actually take our levels and find the grade of the land, the slope, and then work out, okay, so this area is 6 feet higher than that other area, so this will take X amount of material here, blocks or whatever. But the QS or the evaluator from the bank would not go onto the property and do those measurements. They just strictly stick with a level, with a flat and also in some cases the drawing itself, sometimes the architect doesn't even put the elevations on the drawing. So when it goes to the evaluator, they see in a regular design
Right,
on a
okay.
flat land, but the land in truth and in fact is not flat.
Flat.
Yeah, so those are things to be mindful of.
Okay, wonderful. So guys, the takeaway from that is try as much as possible to have the least elevation, because that will save you and everybody else a lot of trouble. So Dina, we are speaking so much about budget, right? We had our national budget very recently, so we know the importance of the budget. But tell us, in terms of home building, who or what determines the budget for a new construction project?
Several factors will contribute to the project budget. Foremost of those will be your pre-qualification criteria, because that would hinge everything that comes after that.
Okay.
So as Mark was saying, if you have $800,000, then you know a square footage that you should be working with.
Okay.
Right, so that is the number one criteria. Of course, also, our priority will be to build a sturdy quality structure. If you are working with a budget, you may want to make some compromise in finishes, as those things can be incorporated later on, and we have very innovative ways to create finishes that will be comfortable for our customer while the focus is on getting their structure up. So those are some of the considerations.
Yeah.
Mark, you want to add anything else to that?
No, Dina raised a very important point on the finishes.
Okay.
Yeah, and in most instances, because the customer, the client, may not have gone through these steps that we are now addressing now. They may have gone in reverse, so the drawings may be a little. 90% of the time, most customers, the drawings are a bit much over their budget, over their real, truth and in fact real budget, which is what they qualify for from the bank. And most times they would not have gone to a design builder person to measure the structure before they do the design, during the design process. So in most cases, what I'm trying to say, in most cases, the drawings are a little more than the customer could afford. It's a little over their budget. So what we try to do, instead of having to go back through all the approval, sometimes we do have a choice, and sometimes we have to do over the process, go back, do over the designs, and go through the process again with all the approvals. But sometimes if it's not exceeding the budget by too much, and we could try to use some cost-saving measures and just go for completion certificate, meaning the completion certificate from regional corporation. We satisfy those criteria on their list to get completion of the home, because they need that certificate to convert from bridging into mortgage. So I know I may be telling you, I may be talking a little much right now.
Yeah, but I'm trying to kind of grasp what you're saying, and also there are other questions that are actually rolling through based on what you are saying, because so many times we see a drawing of our home and we want to finish our project, to have all the finishes, and we ladies, we want to see the covers in a particular way. We want perhaps to put in a tub, a nice jacuzzi somewhere, and that's what we are seeing. Would those things, based on the quality of the stuff that we want in our home, would that extend or add additionally to our budget? And can we do those things, like after we finish and we get the completion certificate, as you have been saying, can we actually get that done later on? Is there room for us to do that when working with a construction company?
So Dina will talk about some of the services that can be done, but Dina and myself, we would put in infrastructure, and Dina will talk a little bit about the infrastructure, what she does to prepare for the future, right? So that it may not be in the budget now, but we can prepare for the future by leaving the infrastructure in. So that is it.
That's it. Okay, one of the questions that just came to mind is, do you all build homes in phases? But perhaps there's a customer that might not be able to go through the bank. Say they are self-employed, I don't know, whatever their situation is, or they don't want to. Is that a possibility when working with a construction company such as yours, your construction company, building in phases? I know,
So we do.
Have you had that experience?
Yes. So right now we have quite a few customers that we're probably going into the third year building for them, and that's simply because we would have done the foundation, and then we would have paused. They would have gone back to gather some more funding. and then we would resume once there's adequate funding,
Okay.
and then we would finish that phase,
Okay.
and then we would pause
Okay.
and repeat the cycle.
Okay, are any of these as a result of poor planning in the initial phases that the customer, you ever had a customer that ran out of money and had to pause and gather more funds and then come back to you and say, okay, I'm ready to build this part?
So there are some customers that actually know they're going to run out of money,
Okay.
but they are not going requiring the immediate moving of the house.
Okay.
So they are rather get maximum square footage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maximum square footage. So
Okay.
they would build a huge foundation,
Okay.
but they know that they will pause
Okay.
and gather some more money.
Okay.
But then there are some customers, especially when you're going through the bank, you don't have that luxury to pause.
Oh, so that's more self-funded
Right.
individuals.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So self-funded individuals. But once you're going through the bank with mortgaging,
Uh-huh.
you have a time frame in which to complete the project and to
Okay.
get out of the bridging. Once you're in bridging, you're just paying you just be paying interest,
Okay.
and that wouldn't be going towards the mortgage at all. It's just interest you'll be paying there. So it's in your best interest
Interest,
to quickly get out of that bridging.
Okay. One question based on what you're saying there. We talked earlier about the importance of pre-qualifications and all of these things, right? And you're saying about bridging and all of that. But is there a time frame between when I purchase my land? Do I have to finish paying off for the land first and then start building my home with the, or I can purchase the land and start on the construction simultaneously? Can I do those two things when going through the bank?
Yeah. So if you purchase the land,
Mhm.
let's say the land costs 200,000,
Mm-hmm.
you may have, let's say, 15 years to pay for that, right?
Okay.
You also, so you the bank would have lent you, would have purchased the land on your behalf, right? Would have
Right.
lent you the money to purchase the land.
Okay.
But even though you got 200,000, you may actually in fact qualify for 800,000, but just at the point in time all you needed was 200,000
Right.
to purchase the land.
Okay.
Now you have, so if you had qualified for 800,000, you
Mhm.
have the option now to return to the bank
Okay.
and tell the, and with the loan officer,
Mhm.
and just inform them that you're ready to actually utilize the balance of the 800,000
That you're qualified for.
that you had qualified for. You're
Okay.
ready to utilize it in constructing your new home.
Okay.
Yes.
But can the bank just, okay, if I'm qualified for the 800,000, will the bank just give me that flash
No.
and allow me to purchase the land, and then immediately or soon after purchasing the land, I get my drawings done and I go straight into the building process? How does that work? Or can I do everything one time?
So if you had qualified for 800,000,
Yeah, and you
so-
get 800,000.
Right, but
Can it
remember,
look like that?
remember you would have had, you'd qualified for 8, but you would have purchased, you'd have used 200 out of the 8.
Okay, alright.
So you now have 6.
Oh, okay.
So the
Okay.
6 now, so that's why you would have to make sure and design, do your plans and your
Okay,
drawings,
Okay.
do your plans and your drawings around that $600,000.
Okay. Okay.
So sometimes it's better to purchase the land first, so because the land could vary. You could get a land for 200, for 300,
Right.
for 400.
Okay, and then
And,
so you
and you-
separate the two.
yes, but you
Okay.
may, when you until you buy the land,
Mhm.
then you will know what is your true cost to build the house.
Okay.
So
Okay.
again, some people say, well, I'm qualified for 800,000.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take 100,000 to buy the land. They just assume the land is gonna cost 100, so they say, okay, good. They go to the draftsman
Okay.
or the architect and say,
Mhm.
okay, do a building for 700,000. But then when they get around to buying the land is more than 100,000. The land is now 200,000 or 300,000, but you would have done the
Wow.
drawing already for 7.
So you're still.
So it's always good to do it in steps. Do
Okay.
the first part and then the second part and the third part, and don't try to skip steps.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's important.
Good. So guys, just remember what we want to do first. We want to purchase our land, get pre-qualified, purchase our land, and then do our designs for our home. Great. I am learning so much. I'm so excited. So Mark, are there any steps that should be taken before going for approvals?
So, what in summary, um, we could reiterate the very important steps,
Okay.
which is
Mm-hmm.
knowing what getting pre-qualified, knowing
Okay.
your budget.
Okay.
Two, connecting with an architect and a design build, and don't just leave it up to the architect
Okay.
to cost the the
structure.
building.
Okay.
Yeah, because you would need more than just a structural rate,
Okay.
meaning you would need finish rates, electrical
Okay.
rates, you would need plumbing,
Okay.
painting, tiling,
Wow.
cupboards.
Wow.
Is a lot of different
Costs.
factors, the
Okay.
costs that go in
Okay.
to the entire project.
Okay.
So that's why the architect or the designer may not be sufficiently equipped to
factor in all of those things.
And in
Okay.
most cases, 90% of the time,
Yeah.
it is under budgeted. The project is
Wow.
under budgeted.
Wow.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's the second point, is that to connect with partner with an architect and a contractor or a design build contractor
Okay.
that would be able to advise, give you the designs
Okay.
in line with your budget. So that's
Okay.
step number 2.
Right.
And step number 3
Mm-hmm.
is, before you submit for approvals,
Mhm.
please get an estimate from a contractor.
Okay.
So you will know if it makes sense to submit for the approvals. If you got an estimate and it's coming in way over your budget for the project, then you should not submit, because to submit means that it's gonna take 8 months to get the approval, 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
In some cases, it may be a shorter time,
Wow.
but
6 to 8 months
yes,
is long.
it's long, and
Yeah.
if it's not done correctly, if the designs are not done correctly within your budget, then you would have lost 8 months or 6 months. You would have lost that money that you would have paid that architect to do the designs,
Yeah.
because the design is worthless. If you don't have the funds to do the project, enough funds to do the project, then the design is worthless. So then you're going to need to get more money to do over designs, and then you're going to also need more time to submit.
Okay.
Right? So before you submit, get a contract, get a estimate, a building estimate from a qualified, experienced contractor, not just somebody at the side of the road, but you want to make sure that you get somebody that knows how
What they're
to,
doing.
yes, knows how to price out the rates, the current rates, market rates, up to date. So you want to get a contractor like that.
Okay.
Right?
Very nice. So, while I'm awaiting my approvals, I don't know if you perhaps touched on this, but my question is, what should be done while I'm doing that as a customer? I've gone for my approvals, I'm in the waiting process. Do I do anything while awaiting my approvals?
The only thing really you can do, because you can't do much with the bank, because the bank needs the designs approved to go
Okay.
forward with the next step.
Okay.
The only thing that you really can do while waiting is solicit some quotations.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So request some other quotations,
Okay.
estimates.
So, you have to request more than one quotation?
The bank actually encourage you to get at least 3 quotations,
Okay.
3 estimates.
Okay.
Right? Just to compare, and as Dina mentioned in a prior video, don't always look at the final cost.
Okay.
There are a lot of things that takes it down to the final cost,
Okay.
and if one of those things are missing, your final cost will be skewed.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that nothing is missing in the total estimate. You have the right sufficient quantity of blocks. If it's 20 pallet of blocks or 5,000 blocks, you make sure you have that. If it is 100 meters of concrete, make sure. If it's 3 tons of steel, make sure those quantities are there. In some
Listed.
cases, depending on the experience of the contractor, some of those things may be left out accidentally.
Okay.
Sometimes all the factors may not be considered, like ceiling works
Okay.
or tiling works.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
or doors. You
Okay.
know?
So those things with ceiling works and tiling works, will those things be classified under finishes of a home.
Yes.
And I heard Dina mention a little earlier about finishes and what you all could do to kind of keep those costs down. Dina, could you give us a little more detail
Yeah,
on
sure.
that?
Yeah. So many times, as you would have mentioned earlier, we're working with a fixed budget. And while we want to have what we want, if it's not possible, we at least try to make sure that all the infrastructure is in place. So for instance, if your home you want to have downlighters, you may not have the funds to complete everything. We'll make sure that at least the wires are in the ceiling, so you just cut out after. For instance, you mentioned a jacuzzi. We'll make sure that the plumbing and electrical for those things are in place in the walls. Because the last thing we want is when we leave our project that you now have to penetrate that wall. So we'll make sure at least
an
within your
additional
budget.
cost.
Yes, at least within your budget, we make sure that for everything that you want in the future, we put the infrastructure in place for it at the very least.
Very nice. So, we talked just now about approvals. Tell us a little bit about what this whole approvals thing, because every time you hear about home building, approvals. What is that all about? Please, give us some clarity.
Yeah. So the approval is simple. It's just well, for a new homeowner or a new
Someone who is new to this.
someone who's new and has now done the designs by architect. Really, it is the most in most cases the architect walk through the designs through the approval stage for you.
Okay.
So
who does those approvals? Is it the city? Is it town and country? And where do we go for those things?
yeah. So
Someone who is new to the process. Tell us.
So is not to be worried too much about the approvals, because really as a new homeowner, the architect, most cases they handle all the approvals for you. So they would walk it through. You just have basically to sign some documents.
Okay.
Sign up some forms.
Okay.
But the architect or we would walk through that.
The
process
construction
with
company
you.
could also do that as well? Or just the architect?
If it's a design build contractor,
Yes.
they would walk it through for you. If it's just an architect, he will also can walk it through for you.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's something that you don't have to get too much involved in, because it could be a little overwhelming.
It sounds overwhelming just by hearing, about it,
Yeah.
and person said they got stuck getting the approvals and
Yeah.
and then they have to still go back, and so that's
It's
why
advised that you let the person do the designs for you, also walk it through, because in some cases there 50% of the time there are little minor changes that needs to be made on the designs, and the town and country or regional corporation may ask for a design change.
Yes.
Based on where the land is situated or based on the soil conditions in that area, they may ask for a change in the design. And as a homeowner, you may not know what is this officer or this clerk saying to me, right? What they mean by do a design for the cesspit or change the design on the cesspit for rubble, for additional rubble drain.
They lost me there. So
so
I understand.
Yeah, based on the soil conditions. So sometimes they suggest, the regional corporation may suggest to change the designs a bit, to tweak it a bit, to facilitate what is existing on the site at the moment.
Okay, very nice. So this brings us to the end of our questions or interview questions, but on the note of budget and of what we were discussing so far, are there any final words you would have for our viewers?
So
anything you want to reiterate to us, Dina or Mark?
So we covered everything. Once you follow these steps that we have listed out today, you would not be in that 90% category of persons that need to do over the process, or ends up in a situation at the end, after the approvals. So we at Robust believe if you plan good, you would end good.
So if you plan good, guys, you would end good. And when you're planning, plan to build your home with Robust Homes Limited. So there you have it, folks. Today we learned all about budgeting as it relates to home building in Trinidad and Tobago. And remember, if you are looking for a company to build your home, not just any company, you're looking for a company that partners with you, a company that does quality work, a company that provides you with quality construction, hassle-free construction within your budget, give Robust Homes a call. 708-860-650-4848 or email robustconstructionservices@gmail.com. And you can check out all of our work on Facebook. Stay tuned for another episode of Constructive Conversations, your complete guide to building a home in Trinidad and Tobago.